everyone, and welcome back to the next video in this extended series of videos released in succession, providing a full read-through of every witness statement from the UK trial between Johnny Depp and NGN. I hope you find this series informative, and here we go. John Christopher Depp II and News Group Newspapers and Dan Wootton. First witness statement of Stephen Dudas. I, Stephen Dudas of London, will say as follows. I was formerly a personal assistant for the claimant, Mr. John Christopher Depp II, and I am now the European president of Mr. Depp's company, Infinitum Nihil. I have worked continuously for Mr. Depp since June 2004. In my role as Mr. Depp's assistant, I regularly accompanied Mr. Depp both for work and for personal matters, from 2004 to 2017. I probably accompanied Mr. Depp on the majority of work trips. Unless otherwise stated, the facts and matters referred to in this witness statement are within my own knowledge and are true or are true to the best of my knowledge, information and belief based on sources stated within this statement. There is now produced to me and marked Exhibit SD1, a paginated bundle of true copy documents referred to in this statement. References to page numbers are references to Exhibit SD1 unless otherwise stated. I make this statement in support of the claimant's claim in these proceedings. I have been shown the defendant's amended defence dated 21st of June 2019 and the amended reply dated 26th of July 2019. The purpose of this witness statement is to address some of the allegations set out in the amended defence. As a general point, I understand that it is alleged at paragraph 8A of the amended defence that, quote, throughout their relationship, the claimant was verbally and physically abusive towards Ms. Heard, end quote. I was with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard very regularly throughout this period, and I never saw any cuts, bruises, or other injuries on Ms. Heard. Neither did Ms. Heard ever mention that she was the victim of any verbal or physical abuse, with the exception of the matter dealt with at paragraphs 7 through 13 below. 24th of May 2014, private flight. At paragraph 8A3, it is alleged that, quote, after drinking heavily, the claimant threw objects at Ms. Heard, causing her to retreat to a different seat. The claimant then provocatively pushed a chair at her as she walked by, yelled at her and taunted her. When Ms. Heard stood up, the claimant kicked her in the back, causing her to fall over. The claimant threw his boot at her while she was on the ground. The claimant continued to scream obscenities until he went into the bathroom of the airplane and passed out. I accompanied Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard on the flight on this date from Boston to Los Angeles, along with Mr. Jerry Judge and Keenan Wyatt, who also worked for Mr. Depp. Mr. Judge and I were able to see Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard throughout the flight, as our seats were facing them. Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were sat at the central table on the aeroplane. A diagram of the layout of the aeroplane is exhibited at SD1, paragraph 1. The account relied upon above is completely untrue. As I was sitting on the flight, I could see that Ms. Heard was speaking at Mr. Depp in an increasingly aggressive manner whilst he was focused on his notebooks, within which he often wrote or drew when flying. At this point, I had my headphones on, so I could not hear the specifics of what she was saying, but I could see her gesticulating, and I could tell from her manner that her voice was raised. She continued to harangue Mr. Depp, whereas he did not engage with the abuse he was receiving. At some point, Ms. Heard stood up, and when her left side was towards Mr. Depp made a playful attempt to tap her on the bottom with his shoe. From where I was sitting, I do not believe that Mr. Depp made contact with Ms. Heard. Given the position in which Mr. Depp was sitting, it would have been impossible to keep Ms. Heard in the manner in which she has described it. The level of movement would not have been possible from Mr. Depp's seated position, given the layout of the aeroplane. However, Ms. Heard took great offence at what was clearly a harmless gesture and increased her abuse of Mr. Depp in an extremely unpleasant manner. By this time, I had taken my headphones off and I could hear Ms. Heard shouting at Mr. Depp. I cannot recall the specifics of the abuse, but I do remember her making out that the attempted tap was a significant issue. At this stage, Mr. Judge and I decided to intervene in order to attempt to calm down Ms. Heard, who was now hysterical and was shouting at both of us words to the effect of, "Did you see him kick me?" Mr. Judge took Ms. Heard aside, as he often had to do when Ms. Heard regularly lost her temper, and attempted to calm her down in another part of the aeroplane. I believe I spoke briefly to Mr. Depp, and he then retreated to the bathroom of the plane, where he remained for the rest of the flight. This was a common theme on multiple times when Mr. Depp was abused by Ms. Heard. He would take himself away from the situation, often to a bathroom, and lock himself out of harm's way. During the course of their relationship, I remember Mr. Depp telling me that he would lock himself in a bathroom on multiple occasions, and I remember turning up to find him locked in a bathroom on one occasion, although I cannot remember specifically when this was. At no point did Mr. Depp kick Miss Heard to the ground, nor did he throw a boot at her. Further, it is alleged that he pushed a chair at her. This did not happen and would have been impossible in any event, as all chairs in the plane were fixed to the floor, as has been the case in all flights on which I have travelled. Immediately after the flight, Miss Heard continued to insist that Mr. Depp had kicked her, both to Mr. Depp and to me and Mr. Judge. This was the exact word she used when she described the incident to me and Mr. Judge and Mr. Wyatt, despite the fact that the incident took place as described above. The following day, on the 25th of May 2014, Mr. Depp asked me to try to mollify Miss Heard and to say whatever was needed to try to placate her. I cannot remember exactly what he said, but it was words to that effect. Given Miss Heard's extremely volatile nature, I thought it best to try and engage with her on her own terms and simply apologise for what she was alleging had happened, hence my use of the word kicked, which is the word which Miss Heard herself had used. As I have made clear, Mr. Depp had not kicked Miss Heard. By this stage, I had learnt from my interactions with Miss Heard that her anger was a constant issue. Accordingly, I always tried to simply engage with her on her own terms and to be as nice as possible. 25th of January 2015. At paragraph 8A7 of the amended defence, it is alleged that Mr. Depp physically abused Miss Heard in a hotel room on a trip to Tokyo in January 2015. I was not present in their hotel room, but I was present on this trip, and Miss Heard was in good spirits throughout the trip. At no point did she have any cuts, bruises, or other injuries, and at no point did she say anything about Mr. Depp physically abusing her. 3rd and 4th of March 2015. At paragraphs 8A, 8 through 11 of the amended defence, it is alleged that Mr. Depp subjected Miss Heard to a 3-day ordeal of physical assault, which left her with a broken lip, swollen nose, and cuts all over her body. It is also alleged that Mr. Depp severely injured his finger by slamming a plastic telephone against the wall. I was not present when Mr. Depp sustained the injury to his finger. However, I saw Mr. Depp shortly after, as described below. I had been told by Mr. Judge that Mr. Depp had sustained an injury. Although at that time I did not know the cause of the injury, I believe that Mr. Judge and another member of Mr. Depp's security team, Malcolm Connolly, went to the house in which Mr. Depp was staying with Miss Heard. They then picked up Mr. Depp and brought him back to the hotel where we were staying and where Mr. Depp also had a room reserved. It was at this point I saw Mr. Depp, who was clearly in a considerable amount of pain. When we were in the hotel room with Mr. Depp, we removed some bandaging from his finger and inspected his injury. We were shocked to discover that the tip of the finger had been severed, the gruesome sight clearly indicating that immediate medical treatment was required, and so, along with Mr. Judge and Mr. Connolly, we took Mr. Depp to the hospital. I believe we were at the hospital for a couple of hours before returning to the hotel. Once he had returned to the hotel, Mr. Depp went to sleep. The following day, Mr. Depp told me, Mr. Judge, and Mr. Connolly that he had sustained his injury when Miss Heard had thrown a bottle at him, which smashed on his hand. He also told us, and we were able to see, that Miss Heard had put a cigarette out on Mr. Depp's cheek. However, Mr. Depp did not want to cause alarm by letting the true cause of his injuries be known. Accordingly, we were instructed to say that Mr. Depp had caught his finger in a door. Shortly after this incident, Ben King, Mr. Depp's then house manager, escorted Miss Heard back to Los Angeles. At no point did he or anyone else mention any evidence of Miss Heard being the victim of physical abuse. I did not see Miss Heard at all in the brief period following Mr. Depp's injury. The various other allegations. In relation to various other allegations set out at paragraph 8 of the amended defence, I was with Mr. Depp very regularly in this period and saw Miss Heard on many occasions. At no point did Miss Heard ever mention any physical abuse, and I never saw any evidence of any injury to Miss Heard. In contrast, Mr. Depp told me on multiple occasions that Miss Heard had attacked him or abused him physically and verbally. The first time Miss Heard ever made any allegation of physical abuse against Mr. Depp was when she filed for a temporary restraining order, the TRO, in 2016, in reliance on the alleged incident at paragraph 8.A.20 of the amended defence on 21st of May 2016. All of the other allegations at paragraph 8 seem to have only been made subsequently. In relation to the TRO, I, along with many others, was extremely surprised and outraged when this hit the press. I knew that Miss Heard was the abuser in the relationship, and I was appalled that she would behave in this way. She had subjected Mr. Depp to years of abuse, and I knew she had been arrested for domestic abuse in the past in her relationship to her former wife. I believe that the facts stated in this witness statement are true. Signed, Stephen Dudas, 12th of December 2019.